Pod Sound School presents Content Jefe, the podcast that helps online business owners make better content and more money. Let's jefe up. Hello, amigo, amigazo. We're so excited you're here with us. This is the Content Jefe podcast brought to you by the Pod Sound School. I'm Veronica.
And I'm Studio Steve.
We teach people how to make content and how to implement content marketing systems to help them grow online. We've been doing this for 4 years, and we run a business, and we are content creators too. So you are in very good hands. Yes. This podcast is for you. If you were wondering, is this podcast for me, Veronica? Yes, it is for you. If you are an online business owner, content creator, trying to figure it out, the content marketing world and how to make money online. In each episode, we bring you inside the content marketing world so you can make better content and more money. Let's get going.
So this episode is all about how to get more downloads for your podcast. The highly sought after downloads.
Yes.
I thought about talking about how to get your first 20,000 downloads, but then really the term downloads when you're thinking in terms of podcasting is sort of, I want to say elusive. And I used to misuse that word elusive. I would use it in place of mystical is what I was kind of thinking. Actually, elusive is a better word because it's kind of misleading, right? So the downloads is what we're all after, all of us podcasters. And I don't think it's what you need to be after necessarily. There's a lot more to be concerned with, but we're going to get into a lot of that.
But it's like a measurement of how well you're doing.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's a good metric. And also it happens to be what you can sell to advertisers.
Yes.
So it is important for that because there's the CPM, cost per mile, and mile means 1,000 downloads. So, but we know that podcasts are a tremendous tool for marketing and for business. That's something that we know. And it's no secret that we are obsessed with them and believe that they can be the cornerstone and the starting point for the most thriving and easy to maintain content strategies, right? And so they can also be very profitable. More downloads is going to equal more opportunity for you and more influence for you. And even though podcasts are a tremendous way to connect with your audience and build multiple trusts, they can be very difficult to grow. Very difficult, painfully difficult. That's why I think so many people give up. Finding your audience, it can be hard to introduce them to your podcast. It's hard to know where they are, pinpoint who your niche is, who you're trying to serve. And so in this episode, we're going to break down the most powerful and the most realistic ways that you can get more downloads on your podcast. So, Veronica, I'm going to separate this into 3 parts.
Okay.
The first part is free ways to grow your podcast and get more downloads. The free, because we're all after that. I know you're after that, so we're going to get into that right off the bat. The second part is the audio only growth, you could think of it as. And the third part is for those who are brave enough to incorporate video into their podcasting. And so we could call the third part like grow with video. So again, 1, grow for free. 2, grow with audio only or without showing your face. And in that, we're going to kind of cover the social media do's and don'ts real quick. And then 3, grow with video. So let's start with the free strategies.
Okay.
And I want to kind of get your thoughts on this too. But my number one thing with free strategies is market research and keyword research. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that should be number 1. Yeah. Well, not number 1, but something that people should be doing definitely. Because it's leveraging the power of the search engines to bring more people to your content, to get more ears to your podcast, to just like put you on the map, right?
So there's SEO and then also market research too.
But I get we got confused with SEO at the beginning of it. And if you're watching this or if you're listening to this episode and you have no idea what SEO is, it sounds like such a foreign term. It's basically a series of steps that you need to take to make sure that the algorithms, that the Google algorithm or the YouTube algorithm or these big search engines pick up on your content. And it's free.
Yeah.
Unless you're using certain tools that you would have to upgrade and pay more money for, but
Yeah.
it's something that is free.
Those tools, and we've talked about them a lot before, that you can find for free. Keyword Surfer is free. It's a Google Chrome extension. Just download it and try it out. Everything you type into Google, it gives you information on.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is terms, generally with SEO on any of the platforms. What you're looking for is terms or keywords or a series of words that, and they're usually questions or queries that are searched a lot that your website or your profile can rank for. And so in terms of podcasts and your podcast, where this is going to come into play is with your episode titles. So when you do keyword research, you're looking for the best way to title your episode, but then you're also looking for better, more interesting, more clickable, more episode topics, right? Topics that you should cover, which is in fact why we're doing this, because the title of how to get more downloads on your podcast, believe it or not, is searched a lot. That's keyword research. But I think another really important thing that I think a ton of us don't do is market research. And with that, I'm thinking like competitor analysis. Think about like how valuable it would be to just go try to find podcasts that are like the one you want to make or like yours. And then just listen and not necessarily compare yourself, but like see what other people are doing.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of people, I think you included, they don't like it because their creativity gets hindered by what other people are doing. And then you just kind of like want to do what other people are doing. And it's affecting your self-esteem because you don't think that you can measure up. And like, even though we're here, we all think about ourselves like here.
Yeah.
So if you are one of those people, then maybe you can ask your co-host. If you have a co-host, maybe you can ask somebody in your team to do that competitor research for you, because it's important to know what's out there. It's important to know what other shows are doing, like how are they presenting the information, how they're building their brand.
Yeah.
And also to make connections to see how you can reach out and maybe be interviewed in those podcasts, so you can bring those listeners to your show as well. Yeah.
So there's all sorts of stuff that goes into it, and just being wise as far as what's out there. And another tip so Veronica was mentioning my issue. I have this all the time. Every week I seem to have this.
I think it's just an issue it share among highly creative people.
Well, and also I know it happens to you too, and you get imposter syndrome big time. And then also you're like, well, shit, this topic's already been covered by these 5 people. There's 2 tips I think I have with that. One is to think in terms of you can actually curate. So in the case of our last episode, for example, we share a lot of what we were sharing was all of the research and the findings from this woman, Vanessa. And if you haven't heard that episode, it's a really good one about charisma. That's our previous episode that you'll find on this podcast. But, you know, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We didn't have to go conduct our own research. We didn't have to be scientists. You can curate from these people when you're studying. And when I remind myself that, it helps a lot. And actually in our next episode that we're going to do, I'm going to talk a lot about the work of a content creator that inspires me a lot, and use a lot of his work as a way to discuss things on our podcast episode. And then the other tip I have is to just separate that into its own day. I think that's really has been very useful for me. So on a day where I'm supposed to get the creative stuff done, which would be the writing or the planning or the outlining, or even, God forbid, get in front of the camera. For me, it's really nice to do all of the researching, the market research, the comparing, the studying and the reading, and to do that in its own day. Because when there's not the pressure of also having to write or create mixed in with that, then you don't have that problem.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and that was kind of totally off track of what I really want to talk about.
Yeah, and something that I was going to elaborate a little bit more is like, it's not unethical to use the word, the work of people that you admire, that you follow, as long as you give credit to their work.
Yes.
And you share those links with your audience, and you introduce them to your audience. Also, don't just talk about it and that's it. What is useful for your audience is that you tell them this applies to you because of these reasons. Like, I'm bringing this to you because I know you're going to find this very useful. It applies to you. And this is my takeaway. This is my interpretation. This is my, so as
the takeaway and the interpretation is the big one for me.
Is the big one, yeah.
That's how are you adding to this conversation? You may have not started the conversation, but how can you add to it? Because you have a lot of unique ways that you can add to it. In fact, some of the most successful podcasts and content creators, all they're really doing is curating content from other sources.
And here's a hack. If you don't want to have an interview podcast, or if in our case, just managing guest acquisition, the follow-up emails and all that is just too much work and it's too much for you right now, you can do this type of thing. You can talk about books. You can talk about research.
Yeah.
You can talk about other creators and what they're doing. You can talk about things and do your research and just present this, put together this really nice episode for your audience. It's okay to do so, as long as you're giving people credit.
Yeah, and then finally on this topic, I would just say it's a good idea to have some ongoing tables in your own personal productivity system. So a place where you can continuously add keywords that you find, or add videos that you like, or add titles of a video you want to do. All of that's a good idea too. So this can be ongoing work that you do. And market research and keyword research is something that you have to do periodically throughout the year, maybe on a quarterly basis, to make sure that you're staying up with the trends. You know what people are searching for. You know what people are interested in. And you're really making this podcast for them. Ask yourself, who am I making my show for? You'd be surprised. Most of us don't ask that. Most of us, it's for us. We're making this thing for me because I want people to hear me and see me. That right there is why you're probably not getting the downloads you want, because you're not making your show for other people. Market research and keyword research will help you do that. So next, this is another free way, and I think it's a really great way that you can get more downloads. And it's promo swaps with other podcasters.
Yeah. I think it's genius. I wish we would have more time to do stuff like that, because it's so nice when you get to have the time to go, and maybe if it's not a promo swap, just be interviewed or interview people.
Yes, we should put that onto Lola. Lola is the name of our personal productivity system that we're building. We should tell Lola that.
Yeah. We should find some time for that, because those audiences are already podcast listeners. Yes. They are listening. They've been listening to podcasts for a long time. They've been listening to that podcast. Chances are they have another podcast that they listen to. Make a list of the podcast
that have
similar audiences. Reach out to their hosts. Reach out to their producers. Talk about your show.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm doing that.
Because you have it all written down?
No, I don't. Oh. I'm
Put a nice email together with telling people about your show, about why do you think it will be great to be in front of their audiences. What's your contribution?
And actually, you just hit on number 3 too, which I think is actually an even more effective way. And you will hear a lot of strategists tell you this, and that's because it works. Yeah. And that's to guest on other shows.
Like, listen, there's not a magic formula that will get you 1,000 listeners overnight.
No, there
are some podcast promoters
be careful with
on
those.
Instagram and LinkedIn promising that.
But
you want to grow your audience organically.
I call those the phone farmers.
The phone farmers. Now, those with podcasts, with the podcast directory,
it's just to give you an idea of how this goes down, is they get like 100 smartphones, and 100 is all you need. They get 100 smartphones, and they sign up with different email accounts on whatever platform you pay them to hit. And they just cycle through them, and they just sit there and they get you tons of downloads.
Absolutely don't.
It's not going to do anything for you.
Don't do that, because it's like, how do I explain? It's like you have this really cool piece of art, and the outer shelf is like, it's so beautiful and pristine, but it's totally empty inside, and it will crack at any moment. Yeah. If you want to monetize that audience later on,
how would you
know that
there is no audience?
There is no audience.
It's just some dude.
And it's better to have 100, 200, 300 engaged listeners than having 2,000, 3,000 of this phone phone farms.
Phone farms.
And people.
And honestly, it's dishonest, and especially if you're going to then look to advertisers and say, hey, you can't do that. It's just, it's not right. And also, it's one thing on the podcast directories, but on YouTube, it will shut your channel down.
Yeah.
Your channel actually gets shut down. And the reason for that, you also have to understand, is they might have 100 different phones, but they don't have 100 different IP addresses.
IP addresses, yeah.
And then to get around that, now they're trying to use these virtual private networks. But if all of your listeners are coming from virtual private networks, very easy thing for these platforms to flag.
So be cautious. If somebody's promising that kind of growth, just make sure that you look deeper
that kind of growth
into it
anyway.
And don't get into a bad deal.
So what's cool about this is
you
now
have to hustle. There's just no way around. We've been doing this for almost 5 years, and it's hard work, but it's hard work that pays off and that accumulates over time. Think about it like you investing in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
You invest in the stock market and then you're going to go get your money out the next day. You're probably going to make like $0 or probably lose a lot of money. But if you invest in the stock market and you leave that money there, compounding interest over time will pay off. Now the stock market is doing like
wonderfully,
horribly.
Oh, again.
But once again, it's just that it's a long-term game. That's what I'm trying to say.
It is a long-term game. And that's the whole game of podcasting.
It accumulates, it compounds.
And so if you're struggling to get the downloads, you're not alone. And it's not about the downloads. There's other metrics. And we're going to get to some really fun stuff. I know I want to get Veronica just kind of talking here so you can get some of the raw stuff from her because she has so much great stuff to say. But I'm also going to try my best to move on to the next points.
Yeah.
So those were the three really with the free strategies. And then really quickly before we move on, I just want to talk about a couple quick do's and don'ts on social media. Can you think of like one do something they need to do?
As far as what?
Just as far as like optimizing or helping your podcast get more downloads.
Okay. I have so much to say. It's going to be hard.
I know. Just one do. Just one thing. One takeaway.
Just one takeaway is...
On Instagram.
On Instagram Reels. You should be posting Instagram Reels.
Okay, cool.
And it doesn't have to be you showing your face. If you don't want to show your face, it's fine.
Okay, well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. That's actually...
But you should be doing a short
because the next section is audio only.
They're getting a lot of traction everywhere.
We're doing audio only, not showing your face hacks in the next section. So I'll just grab some do's real quick so we can move on. The do, I think, would be where I was leaning toward is probably like, let us know you have a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Have a link, have a place to make it easy for people to click on it. If your podcast isn't the name of your social media profile, if you have a business or a personal profile, make it obvious. Host of this podcast, link in bio, and then have the link in bio, create a link in bio page that people can click on where they can go very easily. 1 click, 2 clicks, because if you're going to get people from social media to come over and become a listener of your podcast, that is a feat in itself. And so my big do here with social media, and it's my real big one, is do entertain people there. Actually don't try to convert them into a download. I think that's kind of the wrong type of thinking when it comes to what's important on social media, which is to make the platform happy. The people on the platform, they're there because they want to be there. And the platform is designed to keep them there as long as possible. The best thing you could do for your growth is to entertain people there. And that's also...
Yeah, to have a strategy.
Yeah, it's also where I want to challenge the way you think about terms of downloads. Like you're going to have now, start thinking of your audience in terms of being segmented. So you have your downloads that are coming in from your podcast, but then maybe you also have a small email list. And it might not be impressive right now. Maybe it's only 100 people, but that's impressive. Think back when you didn't have 100 emails. How the hell did you get those 100 people to give you an email? That's a good job, right? Okay, so you got that. And then you've got maybe 1,000 followers on Instagram. That's huge, right? And some of those people are going to be listeners already of your podcast. Some of those people on Instagram will never listen to your podcast. They just will never. They never will. And then, but what I'm getting at here is you still have their attention. You can still sell them something. You can still help them with one of their problems. And that's still part of you growing your audience and your personal brand. So that's my big do with social media. We have a bunch more.
We can have a whole episode.
We could. But my big don't on social media, don't bother any of a post, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter or anything that says new episode out now, go check it out. You could try to improve that and people do this by getting creative with some copy and saying like, and this actually is this is the step up from that, would be like, have you ever wondered why this and this happens? Me too. And that's why I had this person on my podcast. That's better, right? That's moving in the better direction. What would be better than that is the stuff we're going to get into, which is number 2.
Video.
No.
Audio
only hacks.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the audio only hacks, basically very quick. And that is to repurpose your audio into other stuff. So Veronica mentioned Instagram Reels. So find ways that you can make video clips of your audio. There's any possible imaginable creative way you could do it. A lot of people do the audiograms, which headliner.app is a great place for that. But I think even more than audiograms, just the audio from your podcast, you speaking and then having captions. And that caption can be over anything. It can be over
a landscape.
It can be over a solid color. It could be over anything. And you'd be surprised that those reels right now are being shown to people, which means Instagram is actually showing those to perfect strangers, not people that follow you already. What that is doing is really big for you. It's bigger than what the podcast players are doing. Also, that same video you make, which is just a repurposed little clip you made from your audio, you can share that to TikTok. And while you're at it, start sharing it to YouTube Shorts at the same time.
Hey, I'm interrupting the episode for a little announcement. You know you have to create content to attract more prospects online, but the whole thing seems daunting and too much to figure it out on your own. Which social media platform should I choose? Should I start making videos for IG Reels, TikTok, or YouTube? What skills do I need to learn? What equipment do I need? Or maybe you're considering starting a podcast for your business. And if any of that's the case, we want to invite you to sign up for the Waitlist for Smart and Simple Podcasting. It's our first coaching program where we, the Pod Sound School, will be teaching you how to create and launch a professional podcast from scratch. Content marketing, so your content is a lead generation machine for your business, and different ways to maximize every time you record so you can create micro pieces of content that will go on different social media platforms. We'll be holding your hand through the whole process, meeting weekly with you, making sure that you're not getting left behind. We'll be teaching students and clients about podcast and video production and marketing for 4 years. Our approach to teaching is straightforward, innovative, and fun. So hurry up and go to podcastingsmart.com/waitlist to sign up, or find the link in the description of this episode. Stop working so hard on your content. Make your content work for you. Now back to the episode.
And I also think that this is a really good way, if you're getting onto those 3 vertical video platforms, to start inching yourself toward actually getting in front of the camera. A really good way to start growing on YouTube. And what you could do as part of this strategy too, is you could actually start sharing your audio only full podcast episodes, audio only, to YouTube as well. And with that, you would also like to add a little video component to it. This can just be your logo. Headliner is a place again for that. Well, they're actually doing audiogram that is an animated waveform that responds to the audio of your recording. Now, while this isn't going to be the best way to grow on YouTube, because video itself is going to be the best way, this is a really good way to start getting some material on the platform. And that way, with these vertical videos that you make, you can say a call to action at the end of every little vertical video. And the call to action could be something that you have to be creative and think of a call to action that would work on all the platforms, or you have to make separate videos for each platform.
Or download the same video with different CTAs.
Yes, exactly, right? Download the same video with 3 different CTAs on it, and say subscribe here on YouTube. If you're specific about your CTA to the platform, that's going to probably increase the performance.
Another thing that I've seen people doing on Instagram is if you script your episodes, then you can take chunks of your script and turn those into quotes.
Yes.
And then people then tweet those quotes, and then they take a screenshot of the tweet, and then they throw it on Canva, and then they get a little video playing in the background. It can be a landscape, it can be whatever, and then they post that little video as a reel, and they add music for more SEO, the music on Instagram for more SEO, And even though it's a quote, well, you have to, it's going to give you watch time because you are interested. You're reading the quote and you are watching it over and over and
over again. And one of the hacks there is to keep the video length short, like 5 seconds, because then 7 seconds.
And this is something that you can do. You get your script. If you have 3 or 4 pages, there's a lot of stuff that you can repurpose there. A good copy that you can at least take like 10 out of that episode.
So now you have one episode. And instead of posting new episode out, come check it out, and then sitting around and wondering why you're not growing, even though the podcast players have nothing that suggests podcast episodes on the platforms to people. So when you put an episode on the platform, on Apple, when you're with your podcast host, when you put that to the podcast players, they just sit there. They sit there. The players don't do anything with them. So you need to repurpose stuff. You need to grow on platforms where you actually have a fighting chance. You don't have a fighting chance on the players as it is now. Now, they are changing things. Hopefully, we're moving in the better direction as podcasting becomes more popular.
Very slow.
Very painfully slow.
Yeah, very slow.
And confusingly so.
Tortuga
Tortuga, which means turtle in Espanol.
They know.
They don't know tortugas. Why do I talk in this offensive accent whenever I speak Spanish? Okay, now let's move on to grow with video. And this is the where you get the superstar.
Yeah.
And we understand.
This is our favorite one.
It's our favorite one because it works. And it's like, it's just amazing when you see what it does. And
so we've been doing, when did we launch Content Jefe?
We launched Content Jefe this year.
You remember? Yeah, this year.
It hasn't been that long so we're on this is episode 31.
So we are where you are, trying to grow our show.
And
because it's a brand new show, it's not the same podcast that we started when we started the Pod Sound School. We had the Pod Sound School podcast, but we kind of like grew out of that podcast and started Content Jefe.
Yeah, so this is a relatively new podcast. Has 31 episodes, so we've been doing it for 30 weeks.
30 weeks, and we decided that we wanted to do a video podcast because we're all about video. Video is our forte, is what we're good at.
And part of what
even though Steven feels insecure, like videos is our bread and butter.
Yeah,
we make videos for sponsors. Videos are our thing. So we're trying to grow our podcast at the same time that you are probably trying, or you will go through the process too.
Yeah.
So like the difference between the views that we get
and the downloads,
it's just like
it's
mind
day
blowing.
and night. It's mind blowing.
It's day and night.
And we've seen that.
Do you want to share one of some of those?
Yeah, I can share some of those, and also I'll just say that we've seen that with our clients and students as well. That like it doesn't take long at all. It's insane. In fact, I would challenge you to start getting at least an audio only podcast on YouTube. And go over to YouTube and start posting short videos of just your face. And you can do that with your phone. After you get done with the podcast episode the same day, just hold the phone up to yourself and talk for a little bit of time about what you just talked about in the episode.
And add the link.
And
and throw the link.
Make sure you throw a link. But do that maybe 5 separate times. So you have 5 separate videos. Put those videos on YouTube Shorts, and you will get more views on those 5 videos the first time you post them. You'll get more views on those than you're likely getting as downloads. And if you continue to do that, even just after a couple months, you'll be like, holy shit, I have like 10 times the views over here on YouTube. Forget about downloads. I'm going to go all in on YouTube. I promise you that'll happen because YouTube is a better platform in terms of actually showing your content for you. They really do support their creators because they've been at it for longer. And people love podcasts on YouTube. And the reason that we really shifted into a video podcast, and I will answer your question too, but the reason that we really shifted into is because of what Anchor provides. And Anchor provides free video podcasting. So you can actually host your video podcast on Anchor, and they will distribute it as an audio podcast everywhere else, like Apple and Google. And then you take that same video file, the same exact file that we post to Anchor, we post to YouTube. So it's a great strategy. Takes some time to get there, but it's really not that difficult. And we actually have a lot of supportive materials. We have a video podcasting download that we can leave in the link of this episode. And we'll leave some fun downloadable links for you in the description of this episode. So make sure you check that out. Free downloads that'll help you get started with video podcasting. You got to try it out. And that's really what it is. It's adding a camera into your workly week or your workly week flow, your weekly workflow. So, what Veronica was asking is currently with Content Jefe, we just hit the 20,000 views mark on YouTube. Now we did a little bit of promotion, and we do a little bit of promotion from our existing YouTube channel. So that is a little, maybe a bit of an unfair comparison to somebody who might not have an existing YouTube channel, you know, and we have 60,000, upward almost 70,000 subscribers on that channel. So of course, some of those are going to come over, right, and check out our new podcast. But really, it's growing on its own, and it's growing on its own through YouTube, through keyword research, and through the vertical videos that we post. The vertical videos that we post on this YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, are snippets. They're just clips from our full podcast episodes. So that's also really cool. Yeah. I actually love that. That's become my favorite way to consume our podcast is I just go through the shorts because I get to see little clips and our different outfits and our different weeks and how we evolve and what we're talking about. And usually our editor who does that for us does a really good job of picking the best little clips. And it's cool if you're working with an awesome editor like we are to also see what their take is on it and see what parts they think were the best. So there's a lot we could talk about with this. Yeah. But that's really it. And then I think that just overall, like when it comes to growing your podcast right now at the time we're recording this, I would just say the best way that you could do it is with YouTube Shorts. And this is why. Because YouTube Shorts recently, I think it was just a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, created an update on YouTube to where the people who view your shorts are now also going to be suggested your full-length YouTube videos. Just think about the power in that. Because now you have a platform, you have two different neighborhoods on YouTube. The first neighborhood on YouTube is your full-length video, your full-length podcast episode. That's chilling there on YouTube. And YouTube's going to do two things with that. One, it's going to allow it to populate in search results like Google. So if you use keyword research and you use good terms that your channel could rank for, you're going to show up in search results and people, you have a very high probability of at least some people clicking on your thumbnail and watching your whole podcast episode. Yeah. Then in addition to that, we're still in that same neighborhood. YouTube's also going to test that video on like audiences, like their special groups, right? They're going to test it on a small group of people. They're actually going to show a small group of people your thumbnail. So when somebody's watching something on YouTube that's similar in content, similar in style, similar in topic, as they're watching that video, there's all these other places where they show the next videos you could watch next. Your video will pop up in there. Tell me if there's anything like that on the podcast players. That's just the one neighborhood. Then you move over to the other neighborhood, which is YouTube Shorts. Now YouTube Shorts, they're blowing that like crazy. Like, just like everybody's on this vertical video craze, right? YouTube's and YouTube's finally catching up with TikTok too in terms of quality there on shorts. And in terms of people actually starting to post original content on YouTube. We had on our Content Jefe podcast, for example, we have one short that has 3,000 views. And that happened within the first couple episodes. That had nothing to do with our existing 60, 70,000 subscriber YouTube channel at all. This was a unique channel. This was YouTube just throwing that out. When's the last time you got 3,000 downloads on one of your podcast episodes within a day? And yeah, we have some of those shorts that only get a couple hundred views, but even that is pretty cool. And now those thousands of people that watch that short are going to be are in a different category of being suggested our full-length podcast episodes. And it's just this amazing growth. So why not put your effort towards things that are actually going to pay off? Instead of sitting around and scratching your head and wondering why you're not getting any downloads. You're not getting any downloads because the system that you're on, the platforms that you're on, they're not favoring you.
Yeah, it's not about you. It's not about your content. It's not about your podcast not being good quality. Is none of that. It's the platform.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect way to end it. It's not you, it's the platform, and it's different strategies that you can employ.
It's not you, it's me.
Exactly. So make sure that you keep tuning in for more episodes. Let us know what you thought about this one. And especially if you found value in this, do us a favor and share this with another content creator, with another podcaster.
Make sure that you follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Pod Sound School. That's the name for our other YouTube channel. We're going to share it here somewhere. And if you're listening, Pod, P-O-D, Sound School.
Yes. The voice apps don't really like Veronica's accent sometimes.
Yeah.
We've been like, when she says Pod Sound School into a phone, it'll say Bad Sound School quite a lot.
Or P-O-T.
Or Pot Sound School. And that sounds pretty cool too.
Yeah, but we don't teach you.
We don't teach you that. Okay, well, until next time, Hefe up.
Thank
and good
you.
luck with all your endeavors. Keep at it. Don't give up. Be consistent. You will get amazing downloads. Just have to keep trying things, keep tweaking things. It's for those of us who stay in the game, and for those of us who are also...
Yeah, don't give up on your show.
I'm not afraid
Just
to pivot. And if your show isn't going places, maybe pivot and create a new one. Maybe kind of get your way out. We did that with our baby, Pod Sound School, our original podcast. We had 100 episodes on that. We just, you know what? It's time for a fresh start.
Put it on the shelf.
Put it on the shelf. Okay, well.
Peace.